a showdown on Capitol Hill. Attorney General Bill Barr refuses to testify, and House Dems reach their boiling point.
And another school shooting rocks the nation. More on the victim now being remembered as a hero.
And the first confirmed cases of measles in Orange County. We'll have a full report.
From Dodge College of Film and Media Arts, this is Chapman News. Good afternoon, I'm Mallory Sullivan.
And I'm Alexis Rodriguez. Thank you so much for joining us. Democrats and Republicans are still feuding over the Mueller report and whether the Attorney General misinterpreted the report's conclusions to protect the president. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is calling for the Attorney General's impeachment after she says he lied to Congress. The White House calls this a political stunt. We have all the details in our report from a media partner, CNN.
Ordinarily, at this point, I would introduce the witness.
An empty chair before the House Judiciary Committee Thursday morning after Attorney General Bill Barr objected to Democrats' plans for staff attorneys to question him in addition to lawmakers.
The administration may not dictate the terms of a hearing in this hearing room.
Barr spotted leaving his home at the same time the hearing was set to begin. The no-show the day after Barr faced a Senate grilling over his handling of Special Counsel Robert Mueller's report. Further fueled by a letter revealed Tuesday night in which Mueller stated that Barr's summary did not fully capture the substance and conclusions of his report, Democrats say Barr is acting in President Trump's interests, not the nation's.
We in Congress will rein him in. We will hold him accountable.
House Republicans blaming Democrats and political theater for Barr's failure to appear.
There is only one reason, and one reason only. At this point, we are not being able to fulfill our constitutional role of oversight, and that is the chairman's demands that were played out yesterday.
The Justice Department also failed to comply with a House Judiciary Committee subpoena for the unredacted report and evidence, saying the subpoena is not legitimate oversight. Committee Chairman Jerry Nadler says they still want that report and could hold Barr in contempt. In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
President Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin spoke for more than an hour this morning, briefly discussing the Mueller report and, quote, other issues. According to Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders, this marks the first time the two have spoken since the report was released.
For the first time in 5 years, an ISIS leader has reappeared in the media. ISIS released what it says is a new video from leader Abu Bakr Baghdadi. In the video, Baghdadi praised the recent bombings in Sri Lanka, which killed more than 200 people and wounded at least 500. He had stated that the Battle of Baghouz is over, referencing the last town held by ISIS in Syria. Baghdadi also referenced recent political events, including Israel's recent election, Algeria's presidential resignation, and the fall of Sudan's president.
The country is mourning another school shooting and praising student Riley Howell, who lost his life protecting his classmates. A gunman opened fire in a classroom at the University of North Carolina at Charlotte on Tuesday evening, killing 2 people and wounding 4 others. A fellow student, Riley Howell, knocked the gunman off his feet, costing him his life but disarming the shooter. Police have arrested Tristan Terrell, a 22-year-old former student. The UNC community banded together following the shooting, holding a vigil on campus on Wednesday in memory of the victims. Authorities have yet to determine a motive as they investigate the all-too-familiar tragedy.
About that. There will be much that will unfold in the days and weeks ahead about the investigation, and there's very little we can say about that tonight. But we do know that this is the worst day in the history of UNC Charlotte.
From a synagogue outside of San Diego to a university in North Carolina, what is behind all this violence? Is religion involved? What about social media? Reporter Rebecca Glaser has been looking into the causes and some possible solutions.
50 people dead in the New Zealand mosque shootings. More than 200 in Sri Lanka after a series of bombings. And now, 1 killed in a San Diego synagogue shooting April 27th, just an hour and a half from Chapman, and the latest attack leaving religious leaders nationwide shocked and saddened.
I was just dismayed. My soul got even more tired than it had been. We've done 3 or 4 memorials in the last month here for different shootings and attacks on places of worship.
Over the past 2 months, the world has seen a series of religiously motivated violent crimes, many perpetrated by white supremacists. But Pete Simi, a Chapman professor who's nationally acclaimed for his study of hate crimes, says it's nothing new. It's just something many choose to ignore.
It forces us to deal with some, real unpleasant, ugly aspects of our society, and in terms of a history and in terms of a continuing persistence and presence of these groups. And that we, if we do acknowledge the problem, then we have to take some responsibility for creating these groups.
Anti-Semitism has remained at almost historic numbers, according to a report released by the Anti-Defamation League just 2 days after the shooting. Numbers have risen by nearly double from 2016 to today. Many of the shooters fit into a lone gunman stereotype. Acting alone, they're often described as quiet or isolated, but usually they're far from it.
We often really focus on the loner aspect. Well, the act of violence may be, committed by a single individual, but in fact, the violence really needs to be understood as part of a larger community or a larger movement.
Not only is the single shooter mentality promoted in hate groups like the Ku Klux Klan, social media plays a role. White supremacists often take to message boards like 8chan, where the Poway shooter posted his manifesto. Religious facilities nationwide are tightening security in light of the worldwide violence, with California Governor Gavin Newsom pledging to increase funds for synagogues, mosques, and other places of worship after the Poway shooting.
When Jews are attacked, Muslims are usually the next to be attacked. It's just the way that we've seen that. I think the Pew Research has shown that. I'm concerned and I'm scared. I'm scared.
Reporting for Chapman News, I'm Rebecca Glazer.
Okay. Joining us now is Andrea Mole, a political science professor at Chapman who studies the intersection of religion and violence.
So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
So tell me, is the world seeing a spike in religious violence?
Yes, we've seen that spike and actually a trend of growth for the past 20 years. And I would say the reason is mostly because religion is really good at mobilizing and justifying violent behavior.
So tell me about that.
So what happened with religion is that you can use religion to sort of create your own group, your own identity, which is very helpful and is not negative per se. But in doing that, you also create other groups. And in times of crisis, either economic crisis or financial crisis or migration crisis, that easy step is to get into use the other groups as scapegoat for your problems.
And do you think that the internet has played a role in helping these groups radicalize kind of online and in different platforms?
Absolutely, yes. I think social media in particular played a major role in that because they reduce the time and the cost associated with either spreading your message if you are a violent organization, or to networking and become a member of such organization. You can do everything with it, with the anonymity of your bedroom or your living room behind a computer, which gives you even more incentive to connect with these groups.
Right, and what are the steps that one takes? I mean, I'm very unfamiliar with this, so what have you read about that people have been step by step on the internet? How does that process go?
Well, it's very simple. You go online, you find them, you start participating in their discussion, you read their materials, and if that resonates with you, you start becoming a more active member, and that's pretty much your career within that. Now, what happens sometimes is because you're not satisfied by the anonymity that those groups give you, then you want to act. And you still want to act physically. You want to become a hero. You become needed. You become valued in that group. And that is what, when you have individuals, single individual that plan attack like the one we've seen in San Diego or the one we were about to see in other part of the country.
And do you think if we police the internet that we would see less of this?
I don't think policing is the right way of saying. I think it's more about monitoring their action, and as a matter of fact, these individuals are already followed by the FBI and law enforcement, as we've read in the news recently.
And in your opinion, do you think we can stop these attacks from happening in the first place?
Well, unfortunately, I don't think there's an easy solution for that. We can certainly do a better job in monitoring their activities and preventing individuals to become interested in these kind of groups.
So on a local level, is there things that we can do to make our places of worship safer?
Well, there's two sides of that. I think in the short term, it's what it has to be done. It's literally build security in those places. So any community will decide whether they need gates or armed guard or more police or IDs. But in the long term, I think we should be addressing the root causes. And the root causes are, again, in the fact that these groups are seen as being aliens. The religious communities are seen to be aliens from the rest of the population.
And how do you think that interfaith studies might play a role and might be able to help all of these violent attacks from happening?
I think certainly anything that has to do with educating people about diversity will help, because the moment you connect with people that are not like you learn about them, you don't see them as being less than human or as being totally different from you.
Right. All right, well, thank you so much for joining us, Professor Mole.
Thank you.
A U.S. military vet was arrested this week, reportedly planning a large-scale terror attack in Los Angeles. According to the indictment, the suspect boasted of blowing up L.A. freeways and the Santa Monica Pier. The suspect was identified as Mark Steven Domingo, a former U.S. Army infantryman. He allegedly planned to use explosive devices against innocent civilians. According to federal prosecutors, Domingo, in online conversations with an FBI source, expressed violent support for jihads, a desire to seek retribution for attacks against Muslims. Domingo faces federal charges for his plot to detonate the explosives.
And another controversy at Chapman as students take to social media to voice their opinions on conservative speaker Ben Shapiro coming to campus. Shapiro is expected to speak on May 9th for graduates of the Arduro School of Business and Economics. Shapiro is the host of the popular conservative podcast and YouTube series, The Ben Shapiro Show. He's been widely criticized for making bigoted, Islamophobic, and sexist comments. The event has gained attention and sparked political debate on both Twitter and Facebook.
The Chinese mother who paid $6.5 million for her daughter to attend Stanford University now says it was to help others. As part of the college admissions scandal, Zhao admits paying the sum to ringleader Rick Singer's foundation. Zhao claims she gave the money as a donation, benefiting scholarship funds, athletic programs, and staff salaries. 50 people have been charged in the admissions scam. None paid as much as Zhao.
And a beautiful forecast ahead as we head into the month of May. Jared Brosnan has our weather report.
Guys, it's going to be a great weekend of sunshine and heat. I'll be back with your weekly forecast.
And AJ Keenan has our entertainment report. What's the latest?
A little bit of deja vu. The film that's crushing every record. I'll have your latest in entertainment.
Measles was effectively eliminated from the U.S. in 2000, according to Pan American Health.
About how with technology you can make amazing worlds. Come with me. My team and I bring the Halo world to life. Is that you? That is me. I wasn't a math genius and I knew nothing about coding. But you guys do. You guys have the power to change things.
I want your job.
I want you to have my job.
Measles is spreading, and today we have the first confirmed cases in Orange County. The Placentia woman said to be contagious was there between April 23rd and May 1st.
The Orange County Health Care Agency has listed potential exposure locations and times within the city. This case is just another in what is now over 700 confirmed cases this year. Kaylee Esposo has our story.
Measles was effectively eliminated from the U.S. in 2000, according to Pan American Health Organization, but the disease has continued to resurface around the nation. 2014 was the most recent peak in reported cases at a high of 667, but 2019 has set a new record. There are officially over 700 confirmed cases, and the number is on the rise. Measles is airborne and highly contagious. Early symptoms may include a fever, runny nose, a cough, red eyes, and sore throat, followed by a rash that spreads all over the body. But there are ways to combat the virus.
To date, and from what the health department's recommending, is just to get vaccinated. If you haven't received vaccines, you can still get vaccinated now. You could receive one vaccine as soon as today, and then your second 4 weeks later. That would give you, you would be considered immune even if you were exposed.
As of now, Chapman has no suspicious or confirmed cases of the measles. But if you think you're experiencing the symptoms, do not hesitate to reach out.
They can call the Student Health Center. On the advisory had all the information there, because certainly we would not want to contact more folks if they potentially were contagious. So certainly we would recommend they give us a call, and then we would give them directions how to move forward.
The following addresses are the known potential exposure sites, so be sure to steer clear of the Hutton Center in Santa Ana, St. Jude Emergency in Fullerton, and the AMC Theater in Fullerton. A founder of the Sundance Film Festival is expected to go to prison for at least 6 years after pleading guilty to molesting a child. Sterling Van Wagenen was charged with molesting a young girl twice between 2013 and 2015. This is not the first allegation against him. Another victim, who was a friend of Wagenen's son, stated he was molested in the director's house in the early 90s. He had skipped his initial court date appearance on Tuesday morning, but he agreed to a plea deal approved by the victim and her family.
Norwegian marine experts believe they have come across a white whale that's a part of the, you guessed it, Russian Navy. Fishermen traveling in Norway reported last week that a white beluga wearing a strange harness was harassing their fishing boats. The whale was actively seeking out the vessels and attempting to pull the straps and ropes from the boats. Inside the whale's harness had a camera and the words, "Equipment of St. Petersburg." It has appeared that the whale was trained as a part of the Russian Navy program to use underwater mammals as a special ops force, a revival of the 1980s Soviet-Russian program. So if you happen to see some
jellyfish-looking creatures at the beach, don't be afraid. They are likely by-the-wind sailors. They're a relative of the jellyfish that cannot sting humans, but they can be recognized by a clear, rigid, sail-like body structure. So when the windy conditions increase, they often wash ashore. Although they cannot sting humans, they are toxic. Experts advise to wash your hands immediately after handling them.
Yeah, I don't know. I was just really excited about all this marine news. I had to jump the line.
I know. I would still be pretty scared if I saw those. I don't care if they're toxic or not.
So, if you're planning on going to the beach, you may not see jelly creatures, you may not see Russian Navy whales, but Jared, in our Weather Center, tell us what we will be seeing.
Well, hopefully we don't see any jellyfish. That would be pretty bad. But we do have a beautiful, beautiful weekend coming up. 71 degrees here in Orange right now. Let's take a look at your OC forecast. We have 71 in Westminster. Down at the beaches, 69 in Newport, 67 in Laguna. Down in San Clemente at 65. In the inland, 69 in Irvine, 72 in Mission Viejo. Let's take a look at your SoCal forecast. 66 in Santa Barbara, 67 out in Catalina. Oceanside is 68, 69 in San Diego. Up at the mountain, it's 67 in Big Bear. A little bit warm down at 96 in Palm Springs. Let's take a look at our 5-day. 73 today, Friday, here sunny. A little bit cloudy tomorrow, 73, seems a bit warm. Then we have our Cinco de Mayo on Sunday, 70 degrees. Monday, we have rain in the forecast, but that will clear out by Tuesday, 66. That's what's going on with the weather, guys. Let's send it back to the desk.
Thank you, Jared. So final exams are on the horizon and student stress is at an all-time high.
But don't you worry, because we have Natalie Rawson live at Chapman Sandu Hall, where Residence Life has organized a puppy palooza for students to de-stress. Natalie, what have you got for us?
Oh my gosh, look at you.
Well, thanks guys. I'm having a great time out here petting these puppies. I'm already feeling less stress, which is something we all need during this time. But let's take a look and see how Chapman students cope with this stress during finals in other ways. Courtney Marshall has the story. It will be funny.
According to the American Psychological Association, 91% of Gen Zs between 18 and 21 say they have experienced at least one physical or emotional symptom due to stress in the past month. We wanted to see how stress affects the students at Chapman as they prepare for finals week.
I'm very stressed and pretty frustrated with classes. Yeah, a little overwhelmed, but try to find the little things that make me happy at this point.
My mental state currently, I think it's cyclical, right? There are days where I feel really good about both, what we're doing here at Chapman, what we're doing here in the city of Orange, and what we're doing nationally, right? And there are days and situations where I do feel really bogged down, really stressed out.
I met up with Dr. Danny Smith, Chapman's rape crisis counselor, to talk about mental health care.
Mental health is very important when it comes to us people. We have lots of resources here for our students. They can go to Student Psychological Counseling Services, which is on right next to our Student Health Center. We also have our Dean of Students office. We have some really great folk there who can help students if they find themselves in a situation where they need someone to speak with right away.
People cope with stress in different ways. Here's some tips from students.
I would say just definitely talk to your friends or talk to your peers, because once you open up to them, and at least what I found is that like all of my peers are feeling the same exact thing. So even though it still sucks when you're going through it, at least you have that commonality with like your classmates that they're feeling it too.
Don't worry about it too much. Like test grades and stuff like that don't characterize like who you are as a person.
Students can prevent burning out during finals week by taking care of their bodies, leaving time for social connections, and being mindful.
I think also that students need to be interested in self-care, so deep breathing, self-talk, doing the studying that they need to do, and getting the sleep that they need is very important. And self-talk that says, I've done my part, now I need to go in there and perform.
For Chapman News, this is Courtney Marshall.
No. Now, I might be biased, but this is definitely my new favorite form of self-care. These pups will be around till 1 p.m. here in the Sandu Courtyard if you want to come say hi. Reporting for Chapman News, I'm Natalie Rawson. Back to you guys.
Natalie, that's adorable. Thank you so much.
Chapman News without dogs is just like Instagram without likes. Canada is about to find out what that is like. The company announced on Tuesday that they will be running a test in Canada starting this week that hides the number of likes on your photos and videos. They will be removed from the main feed and profiles. An Instagram spokesperson announced that this test hopes the users focus on the photos and videos shared as opposed to the popularity of the post. But although the likes will be hidden from the public, owners of the account will be able to monitor the likes of their own posts.
Also starting this week, you may notice a few differences at Disney parks. Designated smoking areas, oversized strollers, and coolers are no longer allowed. This includes Disney World and most Disney-affiliated parks, which include Downtown Disney here in Anaheim. Disney says the changes were made to increase the air quality, controlling the crowd, and curb visitors from bringing in outside food.
Don't go anywhere. I'll give you the latest in entertainment.
And coming up on the Best Campus Sports Show, a Chapman football player on his comeback after cancer. Stay tuned.
Bento in 2010 from a shelter. As it turns out, we have very similar personalities. And this cat makes me make art because he's always motivating me to take pictures of him, to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. It's just that simple. Well, he's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
The battle of streaming services continues. Announced this week, Hulu added twice as many U.S. subscribers as Netflix during its first quarter this year. Hulu's domestic customer base now exceeds 28 million. Streaming giant Netflix still tops all, with over 60 million subscribers in the U.S. Still, Hulu's growth here in the States tops that of its competitor.
I have to say, that was the most millennial stories we've ever covered.
I
Talking
know.
Instagram likes, talking streaming
Instagram,
services. AJ, what is happening in entertainment? Please tell me.
What's up, guys? I'm AJ, and here's the latest in entertainment. Will the coverage of Endgame ever end? I don't think so, because in just 1 week, it's broken every record that there is to break, including most viewed trailer, highest ticket pre-sale, longest Marvel movie runtime, widest national release, highest grossing Thursday night showings, highest grossing single day and opening day, highest grossing worldwide opening weekend, highest grossing opening weekend in China, fastest movie to reach $1 billion and more. Even more records are being broken this week after the third episode of Game of Thrones drew in 17.8 million overnight viewers on Sunday, not including the number of streams. This number is the highest for the series and gave HBO their most watched scripted show telecast in history. It's also now Twitter's most tweeted about episode of scripted TV ever, with over 8 million tweets. But a lot of those tweets were complaints of the episode being too dark. Cinematographer Fabian Wagner said that the darker lighting was intentional, but HBO's compression of the video added pixels and unwanted extra darkness. He also advises that the show should be watched in movie theater darkness. Fans will have to deal with this for 3 more episodes until they have to say farewell to the series. Fans of The Big Bang Theory will also have to say goodbye because the series filmed its final episode ever on Tuesday night. The next day, the cast dipped their hands in cement at Hollywood's reputable Chinese theater, making the show the first TV series to be honored in such a ceremony. The wrap also extended Big Bang Theory's own longest sitcom record with the 279th and final episode. Although all these shows are ending, this just means new content for streaming services, including work by Michelle and Barack Obama. On Tuesday morning, the Obama's production company, Higher Ground Productions, announced 7 projects that are in the works for Netflix after partnering with the streaming service 11 months ago. These projects include films that will be covering a wide range of things, from social activism to healthy foods, but they made it clear that one of those topics will not be the current presidential situation. Mr. Obama said, "We believe each of these action productions won't just entertain, but will educate, connect, and inspire us all." We love a cute power couple, and we also love the Jonas Brothers, who rocked the music world this week when so much went down all in one day. On Wednesday morning, the Jo Bros announced their Coming Back Happiness Begins tour. They'll be burning up the ticket sales until the year 3000. Later that same night, they performed at their first award show since their reunion at the Billboard Music Awards. Their 2 wives and 1 girlfriend were front and center to support, and that 1 girlfriend turned into a wife in that same night. Joe Jonas and Sophie Turner had a surprise wedding in Las Vegas following the award show, where they were announced husband and wife by an Elvis impersonator with ring pops. The real wedding will be taking place in France later this year. If you don't plan on attending the wedding, however, you can travel to New York to visit a real-life Sesame Street instead. In honor of the childhood show's 50th anniversary, New York City made Sesame Street a reality on Wednesday at the intersection of West 63rd Street and Broadway. New York Mayor Bill de Blasio also deemed May 1st as Sesame Street Day. Well, that's all I got for you in entertainment. Back to you guys at the desk.
And now we're joined with Pranav Iyer with sports.
Well, Lionel Messi scored his 600th goal with Barcelona this week. That and more coming up on the Best Campus Sports Show.
They call me Maxi, but I prefer tripod. I was your above-average four-legged homie, and then wham, bam, minivan. Some people pity me. Now that's lame. I still run, fetch, and swim. And the ladies love me. I'm the ultimate wingman. Just don't ask me to high five.
Hello everyone, I am Pranav Iyer and welcome to the Best Campus Sports Show. The Dodgers have gotten off to a great start in 2019, becoming the first team in the majors to 20 wins. Much of that is part to third-year player Cody Bellinger having one of the greatest offensive months in MLB history. The first baseman has either set or tied the MLB record for most home runs, hits, RBIs, and total bases achieved before May 1st. Hear this, if Bellinger somehow finds a way to maintain this historic pace, he will break the single-season records for all 4 of these categories. While there's little likelihood we will see that, Bellinger has solidified himself as a clear early favorite for NL MVP. Bellinger and the Dodgers are in San Diego this weekend with a matchup against the Padres, looking to keep momentum in the NL West standings. The ruling of the landmark case in women's sports on Wednesday deemed South African Olympic gold medalist Caster Semenya ineligible to compete. The Court of Arbitration for Sport imposed a strict, unscientific definition of who should be considered male or female based on solely testosterone levels. Semenya is believed to have hyperandrogenism, which causes her natural testosterone production to be above the normal female range and more similar to the levels seen in men. Following the decision, there was an outcry around the world from athletes to human rights advocates and scientists even. Many believe this sets a dangerous precedent to justify discrimination through biological means. Semenya has been facing scrutiny about her body since 2009 and said this week that she believes the IAAF has targeted her specifically. Under the current rules, she will not be able to return to international competition until reducing her hormonal levels through medication. Hunter Spriggs is an offensive lineman on the football team. He has had an ongoing battle with cancer that has forced him to miss the last 2 seasons. Brad Benson has a story.
In 2017, Hunter Spriggs was diagnosed with chronic myelocytic leukemia. He was cancer-free in February 2018, but 3 months later, the cancer came back in a more aggressive form, and he was diagnosed with acute lymphocytic leukemia. He had to take a semester off from school and was told he may never play football again. He kept a positive mentality through all of it, and now he's healthy and plans to rejoin his team in the fall. I met up with Hunter to talk about his incredible journey and getting back on the football field.
You could sit, whine, and moan about that which you cannot control, or you can control your attitude towards the situation. And I think that changing of the attitude is really what helped me get to the place where I'm at now. It was a fighter's mentality. It wasn't a survivor's mentality. I didn't aim to just survive this. I wanted to be a warrior, be a champion. And no one's played football from a bone marrow transplant, college football from a bone marrow transplant that I know of, and at least not from mid-career. To be the first to ever do this, hey, that'd be just to practice, and then maybe you get to play in a game. I don't care. I mean, just to be out here. We'll take it one step at a time. I mean, but I want to be out here practicing and suiting up and being a college football player at Chapman again. Take it one step further, playing in a game, starting, just go from there. But just to be out here, suited up, that's really my base goal and my only real goal. Really the only limits that can be put on yourself are the ones you put on yourself, not what other people put on you. The sky's the limit.
Privileged to be a teammate of Hunter for the past 3 seasons. I've witnessed him conquer cancer not once, but twice. It's great to finally see you out there again, Hunter. Well, this week's highlight of the week comes from international soccer legend Lionel Messi. Earlier this week, Messi scored his 600th career goal for FC Barcelona, and it happened exactly 14 years after his first. Take a look.
Ter Stegen, they made a number of good saves in the second period. Messi, oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! Just when you think he's done everything, he comes up with something even more special to catch Alisson out and to make it 3-0.
Well, to beat Alisson from there, I've got to say, I mean, he smiles. It takes some doing, and perhaps only that fella could do it.
We have a bonus highlight this week for you. A relay race took place during halftime in a Toronto Raptors game, and it's pretty cool, so check it out. Well, that's the latest in sports this week. I'm Pranav Iyer.
I don't know. I think my dog would honestly blow those other dogs out of the water.
For those counting at home, we've talked about dogs not once, but 5 times.
We just love it. It's our special dog show.
I guess we do.
So don't miss an episode of Chapman News. Follow our YouTube channel at chapmannews.tv and social media accounts at Chapman News. I'm Alexis Rodriguez.
And I'm Mallory Sullivan. I'll see you next week for our final show of the semester. Have a great weekend.